what is written in Rig Veda? What is written in Rig Veda, according to archaeologists and the historians, it is completely similar, but not completely, but yes, to 90% things are completely similar to that of the two important sources of the ancient world. That is Zen Devastha, it is a Persian source, and Homer's Iliad is a Greek source. That what is actually the home of these Aryans, because without understanding their home, we will not be able to understand their mindset, their culture, from which part of the world they are coming from, what kind of culture they were accustomed to, and what kind of culture they are trying to create in India. Is that very much clear to you all? Vedic culture started in India with the coming of Aryans. Aryans came, and with the coming of Aryans, the Vedic culture started, it is for sure, but we are not very much sure that whether these Aryans are responsible. Whether these Aryans are responsible for the decline of Indus Valley civilization or not, we are not very sure about that. But it is very much sure that these Aryans are responsible for the beginning of the Vedic age in India. See, this Vedic culture and this Vedic age is the first phase of the Indian history where the history begins. Where the history begins, because this part of history, for this part of history, the history is recorded, is written down. We can read the inscriptions which were recorded in this phase, plus complemented by the archaeological sources we also found from this phase. So this part is important as far as the real history of the Indian subcontinent is concerned. So Vedic culture starts from 1500 BC and ends nearby 600 BC. Again I am saying guidelines are not very particular. These guidelines or these timelines actually vary from one to other. So as far as this Vedic culture is concerned, Aryans, they started this culture in India, but we are not very sure whether these Aryans are responsible for the decline of Harappan civilization, but yes, they are the ones who started the Vedic age in India. But before we start and understand the Vedic culture, it is very much important for us to solve one more riddle, one more puzzle, that what is the origin and original home of the Aryans. That where from which part of the world these Aryans came, invaded India. And we will try to also answer one more question, that Aryan invasion is responsible for the decline of IVC, Indus Valley civilization, or not? We will also try to answer that. In order to understand the home of the Aryans, we historians are following various theories. And the various theories will be given to you step by step. So first of all, before you understand the home of the Aryans, means from where these Aryans were coming, it is very much important for a historian to read about the linguistic evidences. And when I say linguistic evidences, it is very much important for you to understand the literary evidences which we find from this age. This whole of Vedic culture has been divided into two parts, the early Vedic culture and the later Vedic culture. The early Vedic culture, the timeline for the early Vedic culture is from 1500 to 1000 BC, and the timeline for the later Vedic culture is from 1000 to 600 BC. And if we talk about the early Vedic culture of the Vedic culture is also called Rig Vedic culture. It is called Rig Vedic culture, why? Because Rig Veda is the only book, or I would say Rig Veda is the only literary source which was written during this phase. That is why this early Vedic has been named after Rig Veda, and it is also called in the books of history as the Vedic culture. And when the linguistic evidences, the first way to understand the home of Aryans is to read that book which you have, So when we try to answer the linguistic evidences, we try to read Rig Veda. We try to read Rig Veda, and we try to understand that if there is anything from where we can get the information regarding the original home of the Aryans, because it is for sure that these Aryans were not the original inhabitants of the Indian subcontinent, they were the foreigners. These Aryans were the foreigners, they were not the original inhabitants of the Indian subcontinent. So it is very much important for us to understand that what is the original home, from where these Aryans were coming. Why we need to study that? Because if you know their original home, only then we can discuss few important questions and few important things which we need in order to understand the complete Vedic culture. If we understand that from which part of the world they are coming from, we will be able to trace their culture, their system, their polity, their organization, and these, above all these things, the three important things which we generally need is their polity of the area from which they are coming from, society of the area from which they are coming from, and economy. Yes, economy. And by reading all these three, by knowing about all these three things, we can understand that what kind of thing they were trying to develop in India. Because it is a general assumption that if you are coming from a foreign land, or if you are coming from your home and going to some foreign land, and you are trying to establish a system over there, you will try to copy the traits of your native country into that foreign land. That is why it is very much important for a historian, in order to read the origin of that tribe, in order to trace their origin, because we want to know. And as far as the linguistic evidences are concerned, students, what is written in Rig Veda? What is written in Rig Veda, according to archaeologists and the historians, it is completely similar, but not completely, but yes, to 90% things are completely similar to that of the two important sources of the ancient world. That is Zend-Avesta, it is a Persian source, and Homer's Iliad is a Greek source. Zend-Avesta is a Persian source, and Homer's Iliad is a Greek source, and Rig Veda, which is from India and written in Sanskrit language. The information containing in all these three sources are almost same. They all are talking about the tribe which is called Aryans. They all are talking about the same culture, the same set of polity, the same set of religion, something little bit different but almost same, the same set of society, political organization, the same economy also they are trying to develop. Then what do you understand by all these same things? When we historians read these sources and we found that most of the things are very much similar in all these three sources, we came to the point that might be there is a common land from where the Aryans branched off in various directions. Might be. And this is where we try to understand the origination of the Aryans, and this riddle sorted out in 1970s, 1980s, when the historians, they started saying that Aryans originated from Caucasus Mountains. I will show you the picture when we will start running the slides. I will be showing you the various branches of the Aryans. I will be showing their names also and to which part of the world they migrated to. But it is a common belief that these Aryans, they originated from the Caucasus Mountains. If you read the world atlas, these the Caucasus mountain ranges are in the southern Russia between Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, and it is from this place they migrated to the parts of Asia and the Europe. The two branches of the Aryans who migrated to the eastern world, and in total, students, in total, there were 6 branches of the Aryans. In total, there were 6 branches of the Aryans, out of which 4 branches have been termed as Western branches, and the 2 branches have been termed as the Eastern branches. And these Eastern branches are very important for us as far as the India is concerned, because it is the 2 branches of the Aryans who migrated towards the east, which eventually entered India and settled the Vedic culture in India. And with their establishment, the Vedic age in India starts. So I believe you must be getting my point. We are just trying to solve in the very first minute of the class that what is actually the home of these Aryans, because without understanding their home, we will not be able to understand their mindset, their culture, from which part of the world they are coming from, what kind of culture they were accustomed to, and what kind of culture they are trying to create in India. Is that very much clear to you all? So, according to the linguistic evidences, we get evidences from Rig Veda, Zend-Avastha, Homer's Iliad, and all they are talking about the Aryans, which clear one thing before us, that Aryans might be coming from one place and branched off to the different parts of Asia and Europe. This you can write in your books also. But whereas second thing, the archaeological sources are concerned, whereas the archaeological studies are done, we have done the excavation at Turkey. We have done the excavations at Turkey, and from Turkey we found one inscription. The name of that inscription is called Boghaz Kui. Boghaz Kui inscription, which we found from Turkey. These names I believe are difficult to remember. The only way you can remember all these names is to read the history again and again, and that too with proper understanding. History is not the task of remembering. History is a task of learning things, seeing that what is happening throughout the history, seeing that what is the actual timeline of the things, and tracing their development one by one. Only then you will be able to understand. As far as this inscription is concerned, very important inscription as far as your prelims are concerned. When we found this inscription, Boghaz Kui from Turkey, this inscription is the first inscription which gives us the information about the oldest known group called Aryans. अब आपको समझ में आना ये जरूरी है that why we are calling this tribe or this organization as Aryans only. Why not we are using other names for this organization? Because the Boghaz Kui inscription which we found at Turkey, it is talking about for the first time the oldest known group, which is called Aryans, and these Aryans were having the 5 branches, the eastern part or eastern branches and the western branches. If we talk about the next sources, next source means second way of understanding their origin was archaeological help, and from archaeological help we got to know that Aryans, word Aryan has been first mentioned in the Boghaz Kui inscription from Turkey. Now, the third way of understanding the home of Aryans is using the anthropological sources. Anthropological sources. Anthropology. And when we took the help of anthropology in order to understand the home of Aryans, this helped us, or this, I would say, the anthropological studies did not help us much. First of all, what do you understand by anthropology? What do you understand and what kind of help this anthropology can provide you when you are trying to trace the home of a tribe called Aryans? And this is what, like if you read the Rig Veda very clearly, the fair complexion, I would say the white skin, the radiant complexion, the fair hair, all these traits have been mentioned in the book Rig Veda, which are the special, I would say, the traits of Aryans. Aryans are mentioning their traits very carefully in the Rig Veda. They are talking about their radiant complexion, their fair skin, their tall heights, and their tallness. They are also mentioning about means their very bold character. But when we took the help of anthropology and we tried to excavate the area and try to find out that whether these anthropological things which they are mentioning in the Rig Veda are actually coming true. But when we did the excavations, we did not find any of these anthropological details which they mentioned in the Rig Veda, and that is why the anthropological sources and studies, they did not help us much in order to understand the origin of the Aryans. But it is widely accepted all over the world that Aryans originated from the first time in the Caucasus Mountains, which is there in the southern Russia, and it is from southern Russia they branched off to the various parts of the world, including Europe and Asia. And when we are talking about the 4 branches of the Aryans, which are termed as the western branch, the very first branch which I think of is Hittites, Hittites. This Hittites, they migrated in around 1950 BC. Hittites, they migrated around in 1950 BC to the Asia Minor. The second branch, which is called western branch also, the name of the second branch is called Mitannies, Mitannis. The Mitannies, they migrated to the northern Mesopotamia in around 1500 BC, northern Mesopotamia in around 1500 BC. Then you have the third western branch of Aryans, which is called Kassites, Kassites. Kassites migrated to the Babylonia in around 1750 BC. And the last of the western branch which migrated to the Greece is called the Greek Aryans, and they migrated to Greece in around 1200 BC. So these 4 branches of Aryans which migrated from southern, I would say, southern Russia or the Caucasus mountain ranges to the 4 parts of the world. These 4 western branches which we are talking about, 4 western branches which we just talked about. Very first branch is Hittites. They migrated in around 1950 BC to Asia Minor. Second branch is called Mitannis. They migrated in around 1500 BC to the area called northern Mesopotamia. Third branch is called Kassites. The Kassites migrated to Babylonia in around 1750 BC. And the fourth branch which we talked about is, do you remember the fourth branch? Hittites migrated to Asia Minor, Mitannis migrated to North Mesopotamia, Kassites migrated to Babylonia. The fourth branch is Greece, which migrated to Greek in around 1200 BC. And this is the reason why, students, this is the reason why the sources like Zendavesta, the sources like Homer's Iliad, and the sources like India, Rig Veda, all are talking about something of a same political structure, same society, same kind of economy, almost same kind of religion also. Their culture is automatic, their culture is almost same. This is the reason why everyone is talking about the Aryan culture, because all are the same branch of the Aryans. They all are the branches of the Aryans which originated from the common land and then branched off to the various parts of the world. So these four branches are the four western branches, but whereas the two eastern branches are concerned, these two eastern branches are Iranians who settled in Iran and Indo-Aryans who came and settled in India. They migrated from southern Russia to India and Iran respectively in around 1500 BC. This is how we historians try to trace their home, their origination and all those theories. So when you are trying to answer the origination of the Aryans, you need to mention the three things. The linguistic evidence you need to mention. Apart from the linguistic evidences, you need to mention about the anthropological, the archaeological, and in this way you can trace the origin of the Aryans.